Okay. All right. So you survived 1 week, very intense class. Week two. All right. So like I said, I'm recording this, and you may have noticed on the left side here, this is lecture videos. I just created that, and what I'll do is each week is I will post the YouTube video. So at the end of class, I'm using a product called Snagit, and what it'll do is it'll um, it'll put in a YouTube video, and I'll put it out there on YouTube. And then I've got a channel out here if you're interested. I've got tons of videos from my classes. Other instructors do the same thing. Um, that it's just open. So if you have links like from other classes, I have Web 1, NetWeb. I do all those kinds of things. Hi, come on in. Vaughn, right? Hi. How are you? Glad you can make it. How you feeling? Record that. I'm just talking about the course shell and some videos. What I do is normally for every class lecture, I like to record it and I'll post it. And I post it in here on Blackboard under lecture videos each week. So if you're sick or if you miss something, at least it's there. I figure I like to do that. And the benefit, obviously, for the online students is they get to also have that video experience as well. So I figure, what the heck? Let's do it that way. Um, so there. Okay. And we talked last week about the syllabus and schedule. Are there any questions from last week about any of that? I went through and I updated all the dates. I believe I made all the adjustments. Again, if there's a mistake in anything as you go through the learning units, I open everything up. I kind of changed the way I do it. I used to do it where I would just do it week by week or even a couple weeks. I kind of what I call spoon feed you a little bit by little. But then I decided, you know what? I don't have a problem with you can see everything at once because I've taken classes like that where I see the whole thing in one shot, and it really helps me figure out, what's going to happen down the road. So you can kind of work at your own pace, but obviously in the class, we're just going to do it, week at a time. And depending how fast we go, we'll see. So everything's laid out here for you. Hopefully the dates are correct. If you find some weird date that I missed, please let me know. I do miss stuff. I do make mistakes quite often. Like I said, just ask my wife; she'll tell you. Okay. Oh, this is recording too. Gosh darn it! See, I can say stuff in the classroom, and no one can hear me. But now I've recorded it. It's there forever. Again, here on the left side is the final web project. So we talked last week, Vaughn, just about an idea of a final web project. It doesn't have to be, don't feel a lot of pressure about what you pick for it when you get to it. It's just kind of an idea. And if you change your mind, that's okay. I've already been talking to Cindy Lou, just about just if you've got an existing website or something like that that you want to make adjustments to, you can do that. So right now, the idea is just to get an idea of it. Pick a topic. That's really all it is. So I gave you 2 weeks. So last week you had a week, and then we give another week. So I mean, again, and if you're really stuck, just let me know. Just say, hey, I have some ideas. Do you think this would work? That's fine. More than likely, anything you do, all I can say is do something you want to do. I know as a student myself, I'll just pick something that I think is really easy. I just want to get through it. And that's fine. I have a problem with that. I mean, if you've got stuff built, but I always find that if I'm doing something and students do something they really like to do, I was doing Web 1 and a student in one of my high school students, she did one on bowling because has been bowling since 8. And she got really into it. One student did a website for his dad's carpentry business. His dad does carpentry and does all this stuff, so he started doing all this stuff, pictures, but he got really into it. He starts talking to his dad. So again, it opened up all these different avenues because then he's like doing analysis, he's thinking more things about it rather than me just telling him what to do. So I thought, hey, this is great. So if you want to do something about dogs or whatever, I'm a dog nut, running nut, so I'd probably end up doing something like that. But whatever you want to do. Again, I teach a lot of high school students, so they're always talking about games and what the latest thing is, and Fortnite this, Fortnite that. We're a little bit older than that, so I don't know how often you play games. I don't have time. And then what each one of these chapters do is just it's going to give us things that we're going to build on that you can potentially add to your project. That's all that is. So if you go into each one, it gives you the page, and actually it's just an item. So it just tells you, and this again, each little piece that you can potentially add to your project, like so. And then again, at the end of the day, at the end of the class, that'll be your final project will be due. And again, I'm gonna go back to the schedule really quick here. We will have a midterm which again will probably be online. So what I like to do also, because again I do have an online section with this, but I like to give my live class the same benefits is you have a week to take the exam. It's an online exam usually, and you have a week to do it. And I even give you the option of whether or not you want to physically come to class that week. So like on that Thursday night for class, you don't necessarily have to. I also give the option to students who are online to come into class if they want to. Like we have plenty of room in this class. So we've got, how many seats do we have? We've got 6, 10, 14, 18. We have 18 seats in here, right? And right now there's 3. There should be 4 of you. But right now we've got 3, and I think it might be 3. We might have another one potentially. So if someone wanted to come in, or if you wanted to just see like, Chris, I'm sick or whatever, I have an appointment, I can't make it, whatever, you can connect online. There is a tool sometimes I do Blackboard has it where you can do it kind of, it's like streaming live. I don't know if you've ever, any instructors have done that. Collaborate, Blackboard has Collaborate where you can kind of do it live. It kind of works, kind of doesn't, and sometimes I've done it and usually I end up with like one student, which is fine because that one student gets that benefit, and we may try some of that too, but we'll see. Right now the video, it's a lot of different avenues. So we got live, you got the video, you got streaming. It's crazy. It's like the Netflix of coursework. It's insane. And then the final exam and project. Again, the final exam will be just a kind of a small thing. It won't be a huge thing. It'll be similar to the midterm, just some multiple choice questions, again, that you can take as you want. And then it'll just be your final project, however you do it, you submit that. And I try to leave a little breathing room here for that as well. Any questions on any of that? I'll record this again. So question is whether or not I'll be checking projects throughout. So all I really ask you to do is pick a topic and then from there kind of start doing this. So I'm not asking you to show me progress, but if you want to and you're like, hey, how does this look? Am I on the right path? Please. You can put it on Apollo, send me an email and say, this is how far I am, this is what I'm doing. And that's pretty common. Like I said, you took Web Programming 1, correct? Yeah. So same idea. I mean, because there's a project in that as well. Most instructors have that. Same idea. I'll say, hey, put it up there. Show me what your progress is, how it looks. If you're unsure of it, that's not a problem. I'd be happy to give you feedback at any time. I encourage you when you do some of this stuff, show it to other family or friends and say, this is what I'm working on. What do you think? How do you like it? Get other input. Don't just rely on my input. I think other people's input is very valuable. It makes, is it intuitive? Is it something it makes sense to another user? Things like that. The one student who was doing a website on his dad's carpentry business, I was giving him ideas way beyond the scope of the project. For the project, I just asked him to do like 5 web pages and just do some stuff and have structure and some basic stuff in there. And then he would satisfy. But then for the business, I said, for your dad, you want to do this? So I said, you're going to have to go back and forth with him. And you might want to, I consider this, and his head started to explode. I said, well, it takes time. I said, you can't design this full-blown website in like a couple weeks. It just takes a lot of time. So don't be overwhelmed by it. Again, have fun with it. I don't know how well you did on the Web 1 project. If you felt overwhelmed by that, you could take something like that you did in Web 1 and you could add to it. There's a lot of stuff you can make interactive. You can always take a static page and make it interactive. We're talking about the weather, we're talking about this, and boom, you can easily make that interactive. There's so many things you can do with JavaScript. Hey, I'm going to do a login page, or hey, someone's doing something, I can have a pop-up come up. That all uses JavaScript, which we're going to do. So there's a lot of different options. And again, this just gives you different areas. Form validations. You're going to submit something. Is this working? Again, you can use Java. A lot of you have to think about it this way too. A lot of it with JavaScript is you want to prevent garbage in, garbage out, right? Whatever the user enters on the front end, you want to prevent that from going to the back end, meaning to the server and to the database. So it's our job as front end developers. You've heard that term, front end developers. That's what you're as a client developer, is to prevent garbage from the user entering to get through that. It's not impossible to do everything, but you do as much as you can. And then on the back end, they still, as a server programmer, if you're doing server programming like in PHP or something else, you still have to filter through that so it doesn't get past you. And then on the database side, if you're doing database development, you should still be filtering So hopefully you've got 3 gates to pass through before that garbage actually gets in the system. And hopefully it doesn't get in the system. Because what happens when it gets in the system is that it's garbage. And so if you have a system, you're tracking all this data, and then your manager comes and says, I need you to run a report about last month's sales, and the numbers don't make sense, the data is garbage, then you've just lost a whole month's worth of work because you captured all this data that you can't do anything with. That's the whole idea behind it. So, my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox. Okay. So we just were starting to do some coding last week, and then we just kind of ran out of time. So everything is under learning units. So chapter 1. The other thing is, I think you're all okay with Apollo logins. If you're not, please let me know. You're okay, Vaughn, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So if for something happens, just tell me. I cannot see your passwords. If I didn't create your account, I have no idea what your password is. I can reset them, but I don't. But if you forget, we'd have to create a new one for you. Just a new password. You can keep your account name, but just the password. And if you wanted to at some point, if you have a password right now, to be honest with you, that you don't like, you're like, I have some weird password, because what I do sometimes is I create passwords for my students and I put them in the grade book and then I just do a copy and paste. But it's just some weird 10 or 14 character thing that I just, if you don't like that and you're like, Chris, I want my own, I'll set it up and you come up here and you can type it in. There's other ways you can do it too. You can secure shell into it, but the easiest way to do it is I'll just bring it up on the server and then you can just type it in. So just remind me when we get to that, and I'd be happy to let you do that. Because I'm the same way. I hate some weird passwords. Like, what do I do with this? So probably you're used to it like most classes. You've got the prepare, which has the lecture notes and everything like that. There's a lot of notes here. There's a lot of content, and I know that. We talked about IDEs last week, in integrated development environments. Feel free to use whatever you want. Some of you are comfortable with Visual Studio. Some of you still like Notepad++ from Web Programming 1. That's fine. To be honest with you, I may stick with Notepad++ for right now. If you're on a Mac, you might do something else like use brackets or something like that. But there's some other really sophisticated one, or Text Wrangler. But from a PC perspective, like we have, again, whatever you're comfortable with, I might start off with Notepad++ and just stick to that. Here's the caveat. In theory, yes, but I'm not going to spend time in class teaching you about Visual Studio because it's huge. It's a great product, and I encourage you to do it. And in ASP.NET, there's a lot more emphasis on Visual Studio. And we also had another class where we did that there's emphasis on that, programming and databases. But yeah, because we could literally spend the whole semester Visual Studio. So there's some other tools here too. There's another IDE, WebStorm IDE, and this is some videos which you can use. So again, it's up to you. There's all these different tools. I just wanted to give you different, I know, so don't be overwhelmed by all this. This is not all required. I just wanted to give you an idea of what else was out there. Practice, I always give you practice. A lot of it's going to be the same, and you'll probably start to roll your eyes after a while. Just different pages, just different methods. And we're going to do most of this in class. My idea, again, I know I'm talking a lot right now, is just to do as much in class as possible. And actually, it's a 2-hour class, so it's a little tough to give you a lot of time to work in class. So, but we're going to try and do stuff. So our first week, our first unit, again, is the case project. Just kind of think of an idea, a topic, whatever you want to do, and let me know what you're thinking about, and we'll go from there. And then you've got, at the end of each chapter, you've got different little hands-on exercises. And we can even do one of them in class and do that. And then you have a couple left. And I think most units have 3, some have 2. Each at the end of each chapter, I think there's 5 case projects, hands-on projects. I don't give you all 5. I ask you to just do 2 or 3 sometimes, and that's it. It just gives you a better feel for the content, and then that's it. So each week you'll do something like that, and you'll upload it to Apollo. Okay. The student files are attached in a zip file here. That's what this chapter 1 zip is. These are the student data files that are talked about in the book. Also, if you go to the resources link here, you can also download here's all the PowerPoints, and you can also download all the student data files in one shot for everything. So that's all the chapters. So then when you go to there, you got student data files right there, data files, and I've got all my files for all my chapters right there. So so it's probably just easier just to do that. That's potentially what I would do. I'd just go there and download that zip file. This is under resources, under there. And again, there's other resources here too about FTP. I suspect you probably mostly have all that, and that's it. So a lot of little details I just wanted to touch base with before we jumped into this. Here's a quick. I'm gonna kick this off, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on PowerPoints. I hate PowerPoints, but it kind of keeps me on track because I tend to ramble sometimes. And especially since you all have had background in programming, this just gives you an overview about the web and the internet, which I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on unless you want to. About websites, how to find websites. Do you all know how to find websites? So I won't waste your time on some of this stuff, web servers. Again, a lot of it is just, again, there's history, things like that, which, again, you can read about this. This is easy. Basic HTML syntax. I would hope that you've gone through Web 1, you should know all this as well. The HTML, the root element, using the head and the body and how the structure is set up, and then all the different syntax. Different element names you can use. And again, you may or may not use certain elements. You may never use certain elements, things like that. It all depends. There's best practice about certain things. What I tell students a lot of times when I'm developing is I try to keep it in style of what's already there if I can. So if Vaughn, for example, you worked on some website and then we're working for the same manager and he comes to me or she comes to me and says, I want you to make some changes to what Vaughn did, I'll go in and I'll try to keep my style similar to what you did. I won't make it vastly different unless what you did is incorrect or creates bugs. And I think it makes it easier to read. Now, if you're creating something from scratch for the first time, then you do your own style. You can do what you want. Within reason, every organization has their own standards of how things should look, how they want it to look, because they don't want. I've worked for companies, small startups, and you have, like, what's 4 of us here, you have 4 different styles. And it would be all over the place. It would drive you crazy. And, it's like, okay, cool, they're doing their own thing, but at the same time, it's like, okay, now I've got to go troubleshoot your stuff, Teresa's stuff. I got to go troubleshoot some of this stuff. I got to troubleshoot Vaughn. It's insane because I have to remember, okay, what was Vaughn thinking when he did this? What was Cindy Lou thinking when she did that? What was Tree? It's too much. And so the idea, again, is documentation, all that, is trying to make it easier for the next person. And it may be you 6 months down the road. How often do you remember what you did 3 months ago, 6 months ago? I can't remember what I did yesterday. Right? I mean, seriously. What did you guys do over winter break? Winter break, what was that? Right? Yeah, exactly. So, and again, I harp on this as a developer all the time, as an instructor especially. Just, again, the documentation, which we all hate to do, is just something you have to think about. So you've got your basic syntax. Again, hopefully you remember a lot of this. This isn't foreign to you. Text editors, again, whatever you want to use. I might stick with Notepad++ because it's right there. I might change over. We can do whatever. Some of my classes, I start with one editor and I go to a different editor. It's just up to you. And since I think we're all using PCs, that's fine. You can stick with a PC base. Some people do. I have some students have dual boots. They run a Linux system and they run Windows and whatever you want to do. I don't have a problem. I don't have any problems with any tool you want to use, to be honest with you. If you could do this with like crayons and construction paper, I'd be like, go for it. I'd be impressed how you did it, but that's it. And again, this is all just talking about different, and there's a lot of free editors, so please don't pay for anything. And the wonderful thing about being in school and education is you get a lot of stuff for free or very cheap, right? I had students that would do a lot of development, and they found some cool online development, and they did it online. Like one guy he was like, I would work on my lunch break. He's like, I'm writing code during lunch. He's like, I had 20 minutes, I write code, it was online. They found this free online editor when he was doing his PhD. That's pretty cool. So he showed me, and it was nice. But I think he had a 1-year trial, and then he had to start paying. Luckily, the class was over. So, and that's fine if you want to do that. But you got to somehow get your code then up to the server. So if it's on their website. Okay, HTML5 is what we're using throughout. That's our mainstay. HTML5 has been around for a long time. It became official a couple of years ago. Um, you've got HTML. Once is the future of it. It's got again more flexible aspects to it, which we'll get into all as well. Web development. Again, I'm not going to play a lot with it. I spent a lot of time on this because you've already spent a lot of time doing some of this. Client server architecture. Are we all pretty comfortable with that? Know what that means? You've got a client. I was just talking about front end development and the server, the back end. Front end development. They kind of give you this little image here to do this. Anything you're doing client programming is the front end programming. I like to enjoy when I did development. I like both ends. I like knowing the whole thing. I like doing client programming. I like doing server programming, the backend programming, and I like doing database programming. Why? Because then I learned every aspect of it, and I learned on a project what was involved in each piece of it. The other thing is, I loved having projects where I had control over all three. It's not too often. Small companies, that's a great idea. That's a great thing about a small company. You get that possibility. You get to have your fingers in everything. So they give me a problem and say, hey, Chris, go run with this. I want you to do this and create this system. So you're going to have to do the server piece, the client piece, and the database to do this. I'm like, all right. But I have control. So I'm a client, and I know the client's going to do the server piece. Or, all right, so if I'm doing the client, Vaughn, you're doing the server piece, Cindy Lou is doing the database piece, and then let's say Chris is doing some documentation based on what we're doing there. We all have to keep coordinating with each other, right? All right, I'm doing the client, but I have to talk to you. What are you doing on the server? Okay, I'm sending you this data. How are you taking it? What are you going to do? I'm sending you characters or strings. Oh, you want no? Okay, so we're going back and forth. And then the database, Cindy Lou is like, well, wait a second. I don't have these fields set on the database, but they're going to be this big, or you know what I'm saying? So I start sending stuff to you, the server, and the database goes up because I didn't send something right. You know, we're not talking to each other. Database ultimately is really the control of it all. So that's why you've got to really think about this, the structure and all that kind of stuff. Again, stuff that you hopefully already. This is just kind of review for you. They call this a two-tier system. I like N-tier, N-tier system. And hopefully you've seen this before. It just says N-tier, N-dash. Oh, that's so small. T-I-E-R like that. Means it's multi-tier, right? That's all it is. It's a multi-tier system, N-tier. Gone are the days of just a typical client, because you can have multiple application servers and you can have multiple database servers. That's all that means. And that's what's going on. So you have a three-tier, multi-tier client server system. And they usually do that. What they do is they have servers, application servers that are doing certain aspects in the company, especially a large organization. Can you imagine like Amazon's IT infrastructure? Can you imagine? It's insane. How many application servers they have to have available and running to process all the requests that come in? So they've got, and they also have to have, concurrent, so there's backup in case something happens, and you don't want any bottlenecks. Imagine how crazy it is during each of the different seasons, during the Christmas season, holiday season, or during Mother's Day. People are ordering online, they're buying this online, any different holiday or whatever. So they have to be able to scale up and scale back when they need to. Why would they want to spend all this money when they have it sitting idle? It's not being used, but then they only use it during Christmas. So there's different systems that they can do. They can scale it. And that's network architecture. It's a lot. Okay, so this brings us to JavaScript. JavaScript client scripting. We all know about static web pages. Those are very unexciting, right? I always joke with my students. I say, how often do you go to web pages that pretty much don't change? They're like, yeah, never. You go to the page once or twice and there's nothing changing, you don't go there anymore, right? Why? There's nothing to draw you in. It's the same stuff over and over again. Gone are the days when you would just have a static web page because it was like an online catalog. And that's what companies would do. They would basically take what they had in a brochure and they put it online and think, oh, I have an online presence. Yeah, no, not really. So they started doing stuff, and JavaScript was a scripting language that came out that allows you to do a lot of this scripting. Again, I'm not going to go through a lot of this stuff. There's other scripting languages out there too. PHP, ASP.NET. We teach PHP here. We're actually starting to teach Python in case you're interested. We're offering a course starting this summer. Python is going to be on our repertoire. It's a very popular language. In fact, yeah, I'll show you a break maybe. Still, some of the most popular languages are like Java. I think Python, SQL. There's some of those hardcore languages are still the most common ones. Okay, so let's do some of this. So the basic thing is you create these scripts and you have a script. Let me pause this for 1 second. Let's record that. So you've got the script element, which tells you put that in your browser and it tells the engine, hey, I have a web page that's got some scripts in it. It's going to do some stuff. So the script engine kicks off and it's going to do some things. That's all that's happening. So scripting is the key word for that. And you can use, it's a great, powerful, and it's amazing. You can do all this stuff within your web page. You can create objects, procedures, you can do variables, you can process information, do little logins, all kinds of stuff. So they show you using one called the write method, where you actually can write information, boom, right onto the page on the fly. So here's a sample script here, right? And so what you could do is actually you can just take something like this if you wanted to, and you can really on the fly do this. So what you can do is you can do this. I'm going to open up my Notepad++. I don't think I have it. Let me close my Notepad. And you can do this too if you want. It's up to you. I'll just do Notepad++. I think I've got a couple files here. Yep. I won't do that. I'll just do a new file like this. I'll try to do this kind of side by side. Make it a little bit smaller. I'm not going to copy it verbatim. I'm just going to play with it. I'm going to create just a plain old HTML web page, and you'll learn really quickly if you haven't had me before. It's just I get anal. As soon as I open a tag, I close it. Just the way I do it. I'll just do this. For sake of time, I won't do everything. I'll be a good boy and just kind of breeze through this head, and then I'll just do body. I'll do body. Close it up, body like so. Okay, my body flies over the ocean. I cannot see. Okay, head. I don't even have to put anything like that in here. I can do this script. The nice thing about these things, I can put them anywhere. But here we go. Let's just save this right now. This is just an HTML page. I'm just going to save it. Go up. Go up. Go up. Oh, I'll put it in my Spring. Put it in JavaScript. And I'll do HTML. I'll just do a test. Tests. Test.html. Very exciting. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so I've got it in there. Let me just go into, sorry, let me overwrite everything. Let me go into documents. Where did I put it? I put it in my course here. Course, and I put it in JavaScript, just so I don't lose it. There it is, test.html. If I double click on it, it does something amazing. Nothing. Well, it worked, right? I can right click on it and I can do view page source, and what do you got? There you go. There's my code, right? So it did what I told it to do. Okay. So beautiful, right? So let's do this now. So now I can just be in body if I want to. I can do a head. I can do whatever I want. Because really, you can put it wherever you want. Let's just try it. I can put it in the head or body. Doesn't matter where I put it. Do you care? All right. Let's just do script. And we could just do something like this. I'm going to open it and I'm going to close it. Now I can just do script because by default it defaults to JavaScript. So I can get away with this. And I can just do something as simple as this, document.write. And now once I do this, as you'll notice, and even on the sample code, this is where you're actually writing the HTML. So pretend like it's just a straight HTML, that you didn't do this document right. So then you're actually doing something. So I can do, like they have a paragraph tag, I can do that. I can just say this is a test. Okay. I can do something just like that. And then I can close it off, /p, close it off just like that. Okay, just like that. Now the only thing is in the script, you end a line, just similar to other languages, you do a semicolon. Okay, it tells it that the line is ended. But that's it. I just did one simple line. Okay. Now, of course, you want to see. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to see did it do anything. Whoa, it was exciting. Look at that, cutting edge, huh? Very exciting. But I mean, again, and you can put this in different places. There's different things you can do. And then obviously this is a very simplistic example, but it just gives you an idea. Again, I can do another one, document. And again, you're just writing, you're literally doing what it says. You're writing on the page. I don't know, say H2. This is a header. Header 2 /H2. Again, I end it with a semicolon just to make sure I have that working correctly. Okay. I'll go back to the code in a second. Header 2. So you can see it like that. Oops. So I'm in my script. Okay, so here's what always screws us up as developers because we forget where we are. So in HTML, I want to do a comment. How do you do a comment in HTML? Remember? Less caret, exclamation, dash dash. This is an HTML comment. Yep. And then you finish it off, right? Okay. And again, if you don't close it, you'll notice everything, I don't know how well you can see it on there, is green. So I close it off. But then I'm in the script, and I want to put a comment in the script. It's a different kinds of comment, right? So I can do a single line comment, or I can just do a // which again is very C-like and Java-like. Or, yep, or /*. So I can say single line comment, or I can go down and I can say /*, and I can do multi-line. You'll notice everything below it now is commented. Multi-line comment. And I can hit enter, blah, 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 blah. And when I'm done, // and then it just goes back to blue down here. And again, it should not affect my code whatsoever. So I should be able to refresh this, and you won't even notice a difference. And you don't. Fantastic. Okay. So comments are very important for the reason I said earlier, of just, you're going to go back to your code a week, a month, a year later and try to remember what you did. And I've done that, and I've had notes. And even with my notes, I like to tell the story about a developer I worked with, brilliant guy. His name was Jens. And we used to joke around that the code he wrote was Jensian. It was just brilliant. So I get this section of code to debug of his one time. And it's not a lot of code. It's like, I don't know, it's like a page long of code, but it's got some what I call recursive loops. So if you don't remember from programming what a recursive loop is, it calls itself and it calls itself. He was a master. He would literally plan and analyze for 80% of the time what he's going to do, and he'd only write code for 20% because he had it so tight and efficient and down. And I mean, he was amazing. It took him 2 days to figure out what he wrote in this piece of code. They asked me to troubleshoot it, and I'm looking at this for about a day, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like an idiot. And then we give it back to, and they're like, finally Jens had time because he didn't have time. And so finally his plate got cleared off. He was done with what he was doing. He got time. He goes to the code. He looks at it, and he's looking at it. And as time's passing, I'm feeling better about myself because I'm like, he's the one who wrote it. And it took him like 2 days to finally realize what, and we're all like, Jens, dude, man, can you make it a little bit more readable? Can you make it more, please? So there is a thing, I mean, with a genius programmer like that, it is good and bad. Anyway, how about a couple more things, then we'll take a break here. Let me pause to that recording. So yeah, case sensitive in JavaScript is very important. They always have objects that's lowercase. Again, that's best practice. Do you have to do it that way? No, you don't. So you may encounter code as a new developer. If you're going into a place and you're going to do coding, they are more likely going to give you a project that's already done or code that's already done and say, can you add something to this? Can you fix this? And so you're going to deal with what someone else did. And they may have done things that was not best practice, meaning they did not name all the objects with lowercase. And so you can't assume those types of things. So you always have to be careful. I'm working with a side note. Sorry. Okay. So the comments, we have the comments there. Again, case sensitive. They get into some of that. We just did the code. So look how fast we're going. We're moving along, right? You thought, oh man, we did so little on the first day. A lot of codes. We did the codes, the comments. Just get used to that. I recommend when I'll tell students a lot of times, even like in my programs, if you would be so kind, if you're doing a JavaScript or HTML, whatever you do, just start off with your name, author, program, stuff like that. Give me a header, and you just put it in each program, however you do it. So program, whatever it is. Oh, I can't do it that way. Yep, see, I did it. Dash program, and then you might say, I don't know, author, which is obviously going to be you. You can make it look really nice. You can space it. I'm not worried about that. See, Ventus, purpose. You don't have to say the purpose. You can say purpose or description, DSC for description, and then the date. And then close it up. Oops. Just a thought. You could do this for all your programs. Sorry. Dash codes. So then what happens sometimes is author create, you just might change to author created, and then you might have someone who might do this becomes like a create date, and then you might have another programmer come in. So I'll say this was done on 12, say 15/2/18, and then you might have another programmer might come in. You might do something like updated by, like that, right? And then the updated. Again, it all depends on what your place that you're working at, what they require. I like to do this stuff anyway because I know, hey, right away, I can look at this program right away. I know that Chris wrote this from the beginning, and then Cindy Lou went in and she made some updates to it. So at the very least, I can potentially go to Cindy Lou and I can ask her questions, or if I can't find her, I can go to Chris and say, I'm stuck. I know you worked on this. Can you give me a hint? Can you help me? That's all it is. That's all it's about. Because let me tell you, when you got a vice president breathing on your neck because something's not working right, you're going to ask whoever you can as quickly as you can. So just something like that. You can make it look pretty. Some people do stuff like this. Again, I don't know what you did for your other coding. Little asterisk, do stuff like that. It stands out. And a lot of programmers will do the same thing throughout their code. They'll do something in here. The block of code. This section does this. I have code all the time that I'll do connecting to a database, updating a database, things like that. I get really explicit so you know what's going on. Especially when you start mixing stuff. I have scripts. When you've got multiple scripts in, right? You probably want to do something. This script does this, right? So here's my comment. Writes fun stuff to the screen. I don't know, whatever, right? So you just want to help your users out as much as possible. That's all that's going on there. Okay. And again, suggestion, again, maybe saying this again. You have code, you're coming in here. You may not want this anymore. Personally, I don't delete anything right away. I just comment it out. And then what I might even do is I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can do it. I might even do this, and I might even put my initials here, CAV, and I'll put the date. This is 17th. I put 118 at the top there. Yeah, I did. So I can't remember. 2019. It's crazy. Yeah, one second. So what I'll do is I'll comment something out, and I'll put my initials and my date. So sometimes if I'm searching through a program, when they get really, really long with hundreds or thousands of lines, I can search my initials and find out what I did or didn't do. Hey, Chris, why'd you comment this out? I did? Yeah, look, this is what you did. Oh yeah. And if I'm smart, if it's something complicated, I'll even put why I commented it out. Because we might have a section of code. Then when things are working and you're happy with it, maybe even a release or two later, I would maybe just delete it. Because you always have backups. It doesn't hurt anything. It's a comment. Because I can't tell you how many times I'm told to take something out or change something, and then I'm supposed to do the reverse. Or what you did, we don't want you to do it that way. We want you to do it this way. So it's easier to go back, put it the way it was, start from scratch. Now, again, there's ways to do that. You can use, are you all familiar with source control? All right, a little bit. I've talked about it. There's a lot of source controls out there. One of them is called CVS, PCVS, different source control. I think it's called version control is what it is. And the idea behind it is just it protects you. So when you're writing code, what you do is you have a code base that you start from, and then you check out different parts of that program. One part of it, so maybe there's different forms that you're working on, or different HTML forms. So maybe I'm working on the login form, and someone else is working on index.html, things like that, or different JavaScript. You check it out, it's checked out to you, and then no one else can check it. They can look at it, they can read it and view it, but they can't write to it. And so what happens is you're like, I really need to do work on that. But Teresa has it checked out. I'm waiting for Teresa so I can get in there and do it. Teresa's like, Chris, I'll give it to you tomorrow. I'm almost done. I'm testing. Everything's cool. All right. Teresa finishes it. She checks her code in. I can then check out what she just did, and I can do stuff. Or I might do something, and then I check it in for Teresa, and she's like, Chris, man, I don't know what you did, but it broke. It ain't working. So it means I didn't do my unit testing properly or something like that. But at least you have a trail. So you know what? I can always go back and say, you know what? I don't have time to fix it. I'm going to undo what I did, and it will go back to a previous version. And it saves my butt. We've done that before. Things like that. That's all version control is. When you're working in a large organization that has a ton of code, this will save your butt many times over. And different organizations have different ones. Microsoft had a product called SourceSafe forever, and it was built into Visual Studio. It was built into there. It was awesome, and it worked really well. And you could check out forms, and you could see who had it. And you can say, hey, I need this form. And it was really nice. They don't have it anymore. Not really. They have different ones, but you can use, and Git is another one you can use. There's Git, a lot of free ones. So I'll tell you what, this is a good time to take a break. Okay. So we did comments. We've got comments in there. Everything is coming out. For those of you online who did not notice, there's some of us ran into some issues where we like maybe skipped something somewhere and then things wouldn't work. And look at what happens when you don't have the right codes in there, or if you miss a quotation, how funny how it makes things all out of whack. So all those little details makes a difference of what you're doing. So you always want to double check. And a comment was made. I said it is difficult sometimes to troubleshoot in HTML, but you can use the validator, which will potentially help you locate some of these errors as well. And we can do some of that too. Okay. So I want to talk about, we're moving right along. We're doing good. Variables. How to write variables. Variables is very powerful. It's a memory location. If you remember from any of your coding, it's a way to store information as you're writing code. So you get input from a user, they type in a name, an address, zip, things like that. You want to store this information for later on. You assign a value to the variable. Let me ask this. How many of you are unfamiliar with variables? Okay, and that's fine. So it just, what it does is stores a value in memory. That's all it is. It's a flexibility, and I'll show you. We'll go through it. Hopefully it'll make sense. There's different rules. And instead of spending time on this definition stuff, I just like to show you. So here's some sample code here. I'll show you. So they use in JavaScript, you use the keyword var space, and then the name of the variable, whatever the name is. Now, best practice, if it's a compound word, they have you do the lowercase s, the lowercase on the first one, and then you capitalize the letter. That's how you see it. Is it wrong if you don't do it that way? Not necessarily. That's just how they do it. So you're going to see it a lot like that. As soon as you assign it some value, it becomes that data type. Are you familiar with data types? Data types, a numeric value, an integer, some integer value, a string, a character, those are all data types. So you'll notice in this one, we have sales total is equal to 47.58. You got to stop smoking that cigar. I'm kidding. I do that and I say, I got to stop smoking. I don't smoke it. So you'll notice, so what it does is it automatically says, oh, sales total is now what we probably call a double or a float, because it's got a decimal place. Var shipping, oh, maybe it's an integer, it's 10, and then you're going to add up, it's going to add up sales total plus shipping and put it. So grand total, because grand total, the value, whatever's in grand total, is equal to these two added together, that end result will be probably a double, because you're adding a double or float to that. The only reason I bring it up is because you're mixing these two up, and that's okay. Now, if one of these was a string, that could be a problem. So I think what we should do, I like doing this. This is what I like to do. I like to mess stuff up. Because students have, well, what if you do this? What if you do that? Well, let's find out, right? So let's just use our same script. We don't have to change it because you already got it working. I'm going to create another script below. We'll keep it separate. Create another script. And this one I'm gonna call this I don't know, sales total. Sales total. Okay. And then don't forget to close your script. So I've opened it and now I'm closing it. We don't need this. I'll just make it really big like this. Okay. Oh, I didn't close it off. Someone yell at me. Please always yell at me if I don't close something off. Why does it do that? I hate when it does that. I hate when it does that. No, 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 no. Okay. It's highlighting it. There we go. There we go. Okay. The nice thing about Notepad++ and other languages, again, if I click on that, it highlights the beginning and the end tags. Highlights the beginning and the end tags. I love that. Body highlights the beginning and the end tags. That's really handy, you know, especially a big. And again, you can scrunch this too, just like you can other editors. I can click on this little, and look at my whole body is right there. Okay. All right. So we can do something very simple, just to get it so it makes sense. So you can set a var, and you can say, I don't know, value 1. I know, very exciting. And set that equal to, say, 5. Okay. Then you could say var value 2 is equal to 10.1. How about that? All right. Finally, I'll say var total is equal to value 1 plus value 2. And then we're going to say, I'm going to put a comment, display output. And then we will say documents.write, open curly, and we'll say total is equal to. Now, we haven't really talked about this yet, and this will show you what you can do. And I don't know if you've done this before. You can use what's called a plus key. What it does, it concatenates. It adds on what you're doing. So this is a string. The total equals is an actual string. It will literally print out that way. But now I want to print out the value of total, like that, right? And then I'll put my semicolon at the end. So it should print out total equals, and then this, it should take whatever value is up in here, it should spit that out. Okay. So trying to play the lawyer card, what is 10.1, of course I picked some weird number, times 5? It's equal to 50.5, right? So if we coded this correctly, this should say 50.5 for the total, right? Let's see. Let's see if we got it. Let's go back to browser. I'm just going to reset this and refresh. Did I do that right or wrong? What did I do? Oh, because I'm a knucklehead. No one yelled at me. I'm adding. So it should be what? 10.1 plus 5. So 15.1, right? I multiplied. Here, I'll multiply. If I multiply it, which is an asterisk, rerun it, now it's 50.5. So either way, you can do it there. Okay? So either way. But now I would just play with the variable. So you can see the variable just holds a value. I'm going to create another one in here. I'm going to call it var value 3, and I'm going to say it is dog. Okay. So what happens if I multiply value 1 times value 3? Dang, dang, dang. I don't know what happens. Refresh. It says it doesn't like it. It can't compute that. Because you are multiplying val1, which is 5. So when you do this, imagine just putting 5 there times the string value or character value dog. It doesn't know what to do with that. Now it doesn't blow up. It still renders the web page, but it just gives us this. Because I can't do it. It's not a valid value, right? It doesn't know what to do with that. So you got to watch if you accidentally mix data types up with there. If I go back and I put this back to 2, refresh this, now we're okay again. Everything's good. No. You can change again. You can change the variable a value at any point in the script. If you sign it, we just did all that. You can do all that kind of stuff. You can play with it. So they create here a variable. They assign it a value here, and they spit it out. They do another variable. And they say the var shipping is 10. Look what happens here now. So they assign sales total up here at the top to 47.58, but then down here it gets another value, and it's going to say whatever sales total was before, also do shipping. So now it's that. So now my sales total, because they add shipping in. So sales total is 47.58, but with shipping it's 57.58, which is very useful. You know, if someone buys something from you, you have a program or something like that. The total out-of-pocket cost to the customer is not 47.58. That's just the product. Now they have to get the product. That's the shipping. So if you're writing code for that system, you're doing a point of sale system. That's how they work. But I'll bet you there's something else. Like in this one, something else they didn't add was what? Like tax, right? What's the taxes? And then they have to look up. Guess what? You get to go have a database with tax tables and look up all the taxes. Yeah. So there's all this. I mean, it's not complicated once you see what they're doing, but it's just you have to remember all this stuff. And again, this is just JavaScript. You can do all this stuff with JavaScript. So it's pretty cool. Make sense? Hopefully. Let's see. Okay, you can build expressions. Let's see here. You've got events and expressions that you're building, understanding events. Now, those of you, all of us, you've done Web 1, so you understand about events. You're clicking on click, you're getting input from a user, things like that. Now, you probably didn't do all of these, I'm sure. Mouse over. The big ones we always do is like select or submit, click. Some of them you might not do, which is fine. Because again, some of this touch remove, that's fingers. And you got to think in terms of if someone takes that web page that you did and they have a mobile version of it. You know, okay, now you also have to interact with the finger, not the mouse. So web development just got a lot more complicated, which is good and bad. All it means is that when you get really good at this, you'll have a job for a long, long time. They can't find enough developers. I can't stress this enough. They cannot find enough web developers, enough programmers, people who know databases, technical people. If you get your skills to that point and you have soft skills where you can talk to people and you can discuss things, and you will always have a job in this field. You always have to keep learning. That's the other thing, though. You always have to keep learning. So these are all the different events that you can do. The keyboard may trigger it, the mouse could trigger it, or like you said, we just talked about the touch screen, because now we've got the different. And again, remember, if it's not a native app, if it's an HTML5 app, you can you can do mobile with it. You can have it on your mobile device, and you can play with that. So again, it's just understanding these events and how JavaScript code uses what's called an event handler to deal with some of this stuff. Okay, these are some of the events. So a element, and then again, you're on focus. So each one of these has an event. So you can create an image. I don't know if you've seen this, where you have an image element, and if I click on certain parts of the element, the image, or I just click on the image itself, The common thing is you have a small image, a thumbnail of an image, and then you click on it, it gives you a big image, right? Or you click on an image of a place and it sends you to a website because you're going to travel. It's Cancun or whatever. You know, maybe it'll send you on a vacation there. Body. So these are all different elements, input. I mean, you could get lost in all this stuff. This is a lot of information. You get the elements by ID. So let's do that here. Let me pause this for once. Okay. So there's a way you can get web page elements themselves when you're in your code, and that's by using this get element by ID if you've never done that. So there's a way to do that, to actually use the ID to get that value. So again, if a user is entering information or data on a screen, I don't know if it shows you in this one. Must assume that's many script section. That's not what I wanted. We put the source file. Okay, no, it's not showing it. Okay, the book has it. The PowerPoints don't have it. The book ID, and we could do more of that. Let's see here. Let me pause this. Sure, I'll even use their example. So the get element. So assume you have a form with like a name on it. What they're saying is you could do something like this to get an element. You can say var f name, and now f name is my variable, right? We don't know what it is yet, even though it says name. Here's something also. Please consider naming your value something. Now my value 1, please ignore those. Those are bad. Normally what I do from a naming perspective is I put a character in front of it so I know what it is, and that's just me. So this is like 5 is an integer, so I might do something like this. I might do something like this, I value. Just telling you, this is just what I do. I value 1. And so it tells me right away that it's an integer there. This one is 10.1, so I might say D for double or float, and I might say D value 2 is equal to that. And then for this one, I might say something like S for string or C for character. I'll say S for string, like that, is equal to that. But don't forget to change this too. So I have to go here and say value 1 is this, and then this becomes this. But I was going to bring it up before and I forgot. And then total here, total I would change too. I would say I and do capital T like that, I total, like that. And then this would change to this. So I changed everything. Again, the reason I like to do this is immediately I know that I'm working with an integer. Immediately I know I'm working with a double. Okay? So even though you're not declaring it that way, the variable helps you understand what you're using. And unless you've done a lot of other programming languages, you know, this will be kind of new to you. If you've not done that, I don't know, does this make sense to you? Have you done this at all on languages? Okay. So again, I for integer, D, this is just kind of my thing. A lot of languages do something similar to this. So like this F name, so what I would potentially do is, the reason I brought it up because I saw that, I was going to say S for F name at the beginning, assuming that it's a string. You can also just do C if you want for character. It's up to you. I just do S for string. So what they're saying is you can do this, and then you can do document, which is the actual web page you're on. Get element by ID, and then in quotes, it's the name, the object that's declared on the page. Now I don't have one declared on the page, so I'm going to say this. I'll say first name like this, and I'll declare it above. So in the example, they had one up here. So I did that. I'll show you. I'll go up above. I'm going to come out of the script here. I'm not in the script anymore. I'm just in the HTML. And I would create an input. Type equals text. ID equals, guess what? First name. Like so. And that's it. What did I do? Is that good? Okay. So when you do this, it says, hey, I've got a first name ID. It goes here and it finds it and it's going to put it in here. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it'll work. Problem is because it doesn't stop. I need a button to click it. It won't make a difference. So let me do this. Let's do // and let's just do document.write. And let's say, I'm going to copy and paste this. Copy it, paste it. SF name is equal to plus, paste it again, that. Like so. Okay. So I got rid of the total stuff there. So this is all going to still work. We just won't spit it out. Then we're going to get this one. I don't know if it's going to get anything because I don't know if we'll be able to get it and spit it out. Let's see what happens. And then I'm going to refresh this. Yeah, there's nothing in there. So normally what you would do is you'd have this piece here. The user would type something in like I just did, and then it would grab it after you hit enter or you clicked a button or you said submit or something like that, and then it would get that value. Because you're going to get this because there's nothing in there when I first run it. So it's not a great test. And and for sake of time, I don't want to create a button and do all that stuff. So I don't want to show you. But what it does is, so this references this, which is this guy. And that's a nice way. So when you have a whole page full of input boxes or whatever you get from user text areas, things like that, that you're getting data from a user, this is how you get that information. Document.getElementById. That's all I wanted to show you. And you will pull data out. It's just for right now. We can leave it at that. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Exercise. Pause this for one. So you can create a structure, a JavaScript code file, but you got to follow certain rules. If you remember from, you've all created a CSS file, done that. So really, I mean, there's ways to do that. Same thing. You're kind of taking that actual code and you're putting it in a separate file. JavaScript is kind of similar, same thing. You're taking the script that you're going to work with and you put it in like a .js file. And then I can reference it. And that's all they're doing here. They're saying, oh, look at, well, this is showing you different script sections, but what was the other we're showing you? You can replace that, and I can have my own script, creating a script source file. Okay, have all the script code, usually with a JS extension. Really, you can have any extension because it just takes the code that you had and plugs it in. But again, for the sake of your sanity, so that's why I say I say I apologize for value, but total right away. You can look at iTotal. You can say immediately. You can say, oh, it's an integer and it's totaling something. Hello, that makes sense, right? These are values, so these are more generic. But again, if you're doing something like a salary, do a salary. This is SF name. Gee, I think this is a first name, last name, things like that. Think of variable names that make sense to you. Again, you're going to be going back to your code 3 months, 6 months, 5 years later, trying to figure out what you did, and it's going to make your life so much easier. So anyway, back to the JavaScript. You don't use a script element, no HTML elements. It's just a straight script in there. That's it. And really, you can just take it, you take that chunk of code, and you put it right in there. And the book kind of shows you whatever code you have. And really, all it does is it just takes it and puts it in there. So any comments, so anything that you've written, so any of this stuff here, you don't use the script elements. You just literally take all this. And I can take this whole thing and put this in a separate file, like so. And then all you do, you reference that file then. So then if I had that in a separate file, at the top, what I could do is I could just do something like this. I can just say script, and then src is equal to, and whatever you want to call it, myscript.js. And that's it. And then you close it up, just like that. So what it'll do is it'll go and find my script, and it'll pull that up. So those of you online, you just missed an announcement about AITP. There's a meeting January 29th at 5 o'clock on the Racine campus. Normally, in the past, what they've done is, there it is, as an organization. And you can join. I can, sometimes I go to the meeting, sometimes I don't. They had it before where they would have pizza parties. It was pretty cool. So it was at every campus, and they would use LifeSize, which is our video system, like there. And the main campus was Kenosha campus, where they would host it. And that's where all the people would be, and the guest speakers, whoever was there. And then they would just broadcast it to different locations. But like I was in Burlington, they'd have a room set up. I don't know if they're still doing this or going to do this. Maybe it's funding, and they'd have like pizza there, and you just sit there and watch it on there, and you could ask questions. And it was like for I think an hour, hour and a half. They have clinics there, so for students, a lot of students who are trying to get experience in PC repair, things like that, and we offer it to the public for free. But there's no cost, like she said. And I belong to the group on Blackboard, and it doesn't cost me anything. I get emails about it, what's going on, this kind of stuff. So it's not like you have to show up. I signed up. I think I've been to 2 meetings. It's not really in my wheelhouse because I'm a web developer, but there's a lot of good stuff that they do, and they have a lot of different things going on. Um, it's just it's something else to add to your resume potentially. You're a member of something, you're involved, you're networking. I mean, so many people get jobs in this industry just networking. Hey, I know this. Yep, yep. So I mean, just something to think about. So don't feel any obligation. And like I said, I think it looks like last year was kind of a lull. They didn't do a lot with it, and so maybe that's why she's saying that Mary is saying that they're starting up again. So I don't know what's going on with some of that, but anyway. So let's see here. Okay, so back to this piece because we're gonna run out of time here. So yeah. So let's see. So I'm looking at the hands-on projects 1.1 on page 65 in the book. If I go to my hands-on projects, I go to my student data files I downloaded, chapter 1, and I go to hands-on project 1-1 right there. It says in your text center, open index to HTML. So if I edit, now I'm going to edit it with Notepad++. Okay, so you can see right away that they've got some HTML comments in here. They got some meta tags in here. They have a title, everything in here. Okay, so again, what I like to do, to be honest with you, with a lot of this, is I like to just run it the way it is and just see how it looks and see what's coming up. Okay, so now I have an idea of what this looks like. Okay. Ideally, when you're working on a project, and what I like to, again, is you have something to start now. Now, you may not have anything to start with, so you might not have anything to look at. The book is going to give us a lot of this stuff. It's where I am now, this is what I'm looking at, and then where I want to get to. So especially if you're working with a client or a customer, it's like, well, I want this, this, and this. So you kind of try to help you guide yourself along with some of that stuff. So what do they say? We'll do a couple of these things together, and hopefully it makes sense. I want to make sure. So you open that up, blah, 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 enter your name and today's date were indicated in the comment section. So this is kind of what I was telling you before. I'm just going to write in here, that's fine. So author, I'll do C. Bencus. And the date, I'll put my date in here, 1/17. And then we'll get in the habit of doing this. It makes it nice and easy. Just above the closing head tag, so just above this one, add the following element. So we want to link in the Modernizer library, which is a script library. It's a JavaScript library. So I'm going to do that. You'll notice it's also linking to a style sheet already, which is in our directory. If you look there, styles, which is right there, styles. Now we also have the Modernizer in here, and it wants us to link to that Modernizer script as well, right there. So I can just do this. It's a script. Source is equal to, that's a long modern izr.custom 05819.js for JavaScript. Close it off, close that bracket, and then we'll do close the script off. So this is a library, this Modernizer library, that's pretty common, that's going to be pulled in, and then we can use this as part of our project. Okay, sorry, I'll leave that like that. I'm pretty anal. So what I will do is, I'm going to do it really quick. I won't get rid of your code. Is I'll just refresh this, just to make sure the page is still coming up, that I didn't screw something up. I know I didn't do much. All I added was my name and the date, and I added a script. But you don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed a bracket. Maybe I missed a period, like I've done before. So anytime you add a couple lines of code, I always recommend just refresh it and make sure it's still working the way it should. And so far, it looks like it is. Within the article element below the H2, so right here, I'm down here. What do they want me to do? I'm going to go down here. I'm in the article element, insert a blank line, and they want me to do a script in there. So we're going to do a script. So I'm going to open it and I'm going to close it up. So I have a script up at the top that's pulling in a library, and now I've got a script that's going to go into the article section. I don't know if I'm going to type all this. We're going to see. Well, we'll see what we have. We've got like 13 minutes. Okay. So what they want you to do is we're going to use the document.write statement. So we're going to create an ordered list. So we'll just kind of, if you want to follow along, that's fine. We're going to create ordered list. Okay. And we'll say document.write. And yeah, this can get kind of tedious because you're spending more time doing document.write than you're actually writing HTML code, right? So it's like, well, why don't I just do this in HTML? Well, you could, but maybe you could also use this in an external script that's going to be used over and over again. There's a number of ways. Again, it's just a lot of way they're teaching you to do this. So I'll do a list item, li, close it up. A lot of verbiage here. I'm not going to type all this. Reduce spending. Non-necessities. Okay. Spell it right. Close it off. Li. Close it off. Okay. And then don't forget to put the semicolon there. Spread it out a little bit more. Okay. That's li. You know what? I'm going to cheat right now. And I'm just going to close off my ordered list and just want to see what it looks like. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Right? And we're going to do what? /OL. Right? And then again, we're going to put the semicolon. We're going to close that off. Okay. So that's all I did. I put this little mini list in, and I'm just going to refresh this and see how it looks. Okay. That was exciting. That was exciting. Just took what we had and it just kept it going. So obviously you can see they've got how many? You got 1, 2, 3 more lines they want you to do, which you can do, and that's it. I mean, that's your hands-on project 1. Okay. Again, the idea is to get used to just using a script, how you're using it. You're using the modernized library, all that kind of stuff. I think they have you use the validation service to validate your browser then too. Is this making sense? This is pretty straightforward, right? Okay. I'm going to pause this video. So I'm going to take my code that I just did. I'll just take everything we just did. I'm going to copy the whole thing out because we know it works, right? And I'm going to just paste it into the validator. So there it is. It's in the validator. Ready to be validated. I'm going to check it out. Yeah, I'm not going to get you, I'm not going to knock off points or anything like that if you run into, yeah, see, warning. So they want you to make some adjustments considering any language adjustment, but that's just a warning. It's not just, so that's okay. If you got some red or hey errors, then yeah, then you want to look at it. Maybe you missed something. So what I'll do is I'm going to do this now. I'm going to miss a bracket. If I check it, what's it going to do? Did it work? Oh, error. That's good, right? That's what you want. So like you were saying, if you miss stuff, the validator will help you figure out these problems. So actually then it's like the first problem, saw less than at line 4, column 4. And my advice always is go to the first one and fix the first one, recheck it, and then make sure everything is okay. Yay. So, no, but that's a good point.